Hello, everybody. It is Jason and Justin. Jesse will be joining us any minute now. Justin, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I heard you just went to the dog park. How fun was that?
It was great. It's always nice to get the dog out of the house.
I mean, you're really
I have him kind of in a smaller pen type of deal. So anything that wears him out prior to me being in this room for an hour to 2 hours will be good.
Yeah, you're a good dog owner. Like a very good dog owner. You're very active.
I try. I mean, I didn't get a golden retriever just to have him get like fat and unhappy. But
man, that golden retriever, I don't know that I've ever seen one.
What?
I don't know that I've ever seen a fat golden retriever.
Oh, they're out there. For sure they're out there. But that's good. You haven't seen them because they're not walking.
I'm Googling fat golden retrievers right now. Oh, there they are. Yep.
As any dog can get fat. It doesn't matter the breed.
Wow. That's crazy. But you guys are not here to hear us talk about dogs and golden retrievers. We're going to talk Scream 6. I'm just waiting on our guest to join us, and we're going to kick that off. It's going to be so much fun. Obviously, you guys know I'm a huge stan of this franchise. I love all of the movies, and Jesse's having trouble, so I'm going to resend this link real quick. But I'm a huge fan of these movies. I love all 6 of them. In the various levels that I like them, they're not too far from where the other would be. Like, Scream 5, even though it's probably on my lower end, it'd still be, it's a movie I enjoy. So Largo's Lair, how are you doing, buddy? Thank you for checking us out. He's always checking out the Hella Dope show, and you should check out his show, Largo's Lair. A lot of toy discussion, and it's fun. A lot of fun on those shows. Jesse, how you doing, man? Scream 6 star.
Right.
Yeah, hardly, but yeah, I'm in there somewhere. I'm the Easter egg.
How you doing today, buddy?
I'm great. How you guys doing?
Doing well. Had a really good night last night.
Awesome. I'm actually going to see Scream 6 again later tonight.
You should go see it 6 times, just.
Yeah, exactly. This will be my 4th, and then I think I'm supposed to go again at least 2 more times.
You're already there. That's great.
Exactly. I'm responsible for the big box office scheme. That's all me.
Did you see it in 3D yet?
I have not seen it in 3D yet.
Spoiler alert, you don't need to. It looks like a regular movie. I was disappointed.
I can only identify one shot where I guess I could see the 3D, and that's at the beginning with the slash. I was like, that's probably the only shot that is, you feel like you're watching a 3D movie.
I forgot I was watching a 3D movie, like, to a point.
There you go.
But it's a good movie. I didn't have to pay extra for the 3D, so it's not that big a deal. But let's spoil the heck out of this movie, guys, and let's chat it up. Opening sequence. We start in a bar/restaurant, and we meet a teacher of slasher horror genre. What do you guys think of this opening?
I really liked it. I really did.
Yeah, I applaud them for finding something new, like structurally finding something, exciting. And I remember just kind of watching it in the theater, and for the first, 5 minutes being like, I love Samara Weaving. Like, I was like, this is great. This is kind of different. She's at a bar. I was like, okay, this is, fun and different. The dialogue's pretty witty. And then it takes a hard left.
Oh,
real hard.
Very hard left. So she gets a call from Ghostface, and then goes down an alley. I don't know that an intelligent woman that studies horror films would actually go down this alley, but that doesn't matter because the sequence is so much fun. She goes down the alley, gets slashed, and then Ghostface takes off the mask, which for a second I'm like, what is this going to be different? Are we going to know the killers ahead of time?
Yeah, it freaked the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same.
I didn't know where we were going with it.
In my stomach, though, I was like, he has to be murdered. Like, we don't know the person that quickly. There's no way. I was like, somehow he's dying or something's changing or something. But,
here's a little kind of inside baseball is I'm a little way too in tune to these kind of things. and Samara Weaving and Tony, they were cast super late into filming.
Oh,
So even when he took the mask off, I was like, it's not going to be this easy. There's no way. There's got to be more to this. Like I knew, I mean, I didn't know, but from what I understood, he wasn't on set that long. So in my head, my spider senses were already tingling of like, okay,
good
he's
Flash
not
reference.
going much further than this.
Not
Yeah.
Flash.
Yeah, exactly. The Flash. But
Yeah.
I think what I really liked the most was they do the fake out opening shot. Like, Ghostface says, "Now I see something red," and slashes the screen, and you're waiting for the credits. And then they just wait. And I was in the theater and I literally went, "Oh my God, he's going to take the mask off." Like, I don't know. I had a sense when it didn't cut away. I said, "Oh my God, he's going to take the mask off." And then he did. Yeah. And I very vocally made noises in the press screening I was in, like, "Oh!" I was like so pumped. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ghostface starts heading back to his place and, passes Tara and her little group of friends, and which Tara's on her way to Jesse's big scene. I can't wait to get to talk about that.
My big party. Yes.
Then he goes home and gets a call from Ghostface. Now this threw me too. I'm like, it's not his roommate. It can't be his roommate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought. Okay, sorry. No, go ahead.
No. You go ahead.
Well, when they were kind of on the phone playing hot or cold or whatever, not to spoil because I don't know where Jesse wants to go, but like, I thought it would be in the sink, not the refrigerator. I had all my money on him like turning into the sink, but it was not. But it was good.
I kind of thought maybe it was his roommate, and his roommate was turning on him, and we just weren't going to see what his roommate looked like.
Yeah.
I thought that, and Jason maybe was his real name, and he was giving a fake name or something. Like that's sort of like, that's sort of where I was going with it. But yeah, it was super fun. Like I was like a kid in a candy shop. I was just vibrating in my seat.
What up, Scene Snobs? Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We all understand, everybody watching, that the realism of two people thinking of doing this killings at the same time probably not going to happen, but it doesn't take away from the fun. And I like the Ghostface call too.
Mm-hmm. It's cool. It's different. It's so hard. You're 6 movies in, and I know that I think the movies received a bit of criticism for the formula a little bit, but it's such a hard line to toe. You've got to honor what came before and just change it just a little bit, give a twist on an old thing. And I thought, especially in that opening, they did that so well. And I know that the directors mentioned in an interview that originally it was Roger L. Jackson on the phone with her at the bar, and it was going to be a picture of Richie that she was looking at as her date. And they switched that in post-production, which I think is probably a stronger choice. Because for a second you're going, obviously you think this is the killer, but you're like, is it the killer? And then, of course, flipping it on its head, and then Tony talking to him in the apartment. It's just, I love it. Chef's kiss. Yeah,
it was really good. I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's, oh my God, so much fun. I really love this movie so much.
Mm-hmm.
But we go to the party now. We're on our way to the party, and Tara, you guys are gonna have to help me with especially you, Jesse, help me with the plot threads. So we go to the party now, and Tara's been drinking.
Yes, we're kind of reconnecting with everyone. And she's gonna go upstairs with Bad News Frankie, or as they like to label him later, Date Rape Frankie.
Yeah.
Which was Andre, who is a really, really nice guy. He's from, I believe he's from Vancouver, Canada. He was flown in for that. But what I really loved about this whole first section, including Sam in therapy with Dr. Stone, who's played by Henry Cherney, who I worked with years and years ago. Really, really nice guy. Is I really felt after the great opening, they really take this kind of half-hour chunk to really reintroduce us to everybody. And there's really nice character moments. And the screams have always been good for this. And I think that's why, more than many other slashers, it kind of stands up, is because of some of the character work that they really put in. And especially in this one, the core 4, the sisters, really feels like they did a great job. So the party, we're introduced to, Mindy and Annika are dating now. So we get to reconnect with Mindy. We see Chad and his new roommate Ethan, Jack Champion. And then of course they see Tara going up the stairs with, date rape Frankie, and Chad steps up and there's a bit of a scuffle, and then Sam comes and tases him in the balls, and then the real hero of the movie emerges to call her a psycho girl, and then disappears again into the shadows.
That's right, the real hero.
Yeah, exactly.
Until he comes back.
Yes, exactly.
The
hero we all need.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. You're going to carry the franchise forward the next 3 or 4 movies. I know it. I feel it.
Yeah, I'm available.
I know.
There's 2 ways that I think a sibling would go in a situation like Sam and Tara when they survive Scream 5. Is 1, she would leave, get the hell out of there, or 2, be so stuck, so far up their ass that they can't do anything. And we got the so far stuck. And I really bought this because when she went away, something horrible happened to her sister. So she's like, I'm going to stay close so that way I can try to help prevent something horrible from happening to my sister. And, the twins and her all going to school at the same time. It's very believable. They survived a big, horrendous ordeal. And, Tara has a thing for Chad and Chad has a thing for Tara. So they're going to stick close to each other. And I like this reintroduction to all of them. And like you said with the therapist, I thought the therapist would play a bigger role further in the movie, but I really liked that entire sequence. We kind of see where Sam's head's at right now. She hasn't seen Billy, her father, in some time, and it's great opening so far. We're really rolling.
Also, what a crappy therapist. I know, right? I told you the problem. I finally told you the problem, and you're gonna okay, get out of here, killer. What?
So my father auditioned for that role, and he's not as big a Scream fan as I am. So, and the sides were all very secretive. So again, I only got my 1 page when I shot, but I read for Ethan for Jack Champion's role, which again I was so wrong for, but I read for it. And so I would get the sides, but the sides were all kind of coded. In the sides, the first scene with Chad and Ethan when they're at the party, and he's like, "Oh, you should go talk to that girl." That scene was written as if he was talking to Tara. And the Dr. Stone scene, it wasn't Samantha; it was some other name of no one involved. But of course, a psycho like me, I read it. I was like, "Oh, I know what this is. He's talking to Sam, Dad. That's Melissa Barrera's character. This has all happened. But I just think that the strength of that opening is so good because you see how the 4 of them are all kind of handling it differently. Tara's partying, maybe drinking a little too much, filling the void. Mindy's kind of dove into this great relationship she has with Annika, played by Devin Dakota. Sam is the one who's kind of dealing with it head on, going to therapy, trying to deal with it because she's kind of the one who's got the most issues. And then you've got, Chad, who's sort of almost seems like the most well-adjusted. He's just, he knows what happened. He embraced what happened and he's trying to move on. So I thought, those 4 distinct perspectives were really cool too.
Yeah. And they're definitely setting something up in the film to follow with Sam's character. But what's up, gents? What's up, Sir Sturdy? Check out Sir Sturdy, Horror Sir Sturdy, my co-host on the Scary Snobs. Fun guy. But anyway, I love this sequence. And then we get the line of the entire movie.
Exactly. Holy shit, it's that psycho girl, just coming in, stealing hearts.
You did. Stole my heart. I did in the theater. I did kind of say loudly, "I know that guy."
That's so funny. I'm just so happy it made the movie. I couldn't really believe it. And it's funny. When I taped for it with my buddy, I have a buddy. His name is Alex Harouche. He's another massive Scream fan, and we taped our auditions in his basement. Again, we both read for Ethan, and we both read for another role that actually got cut of a guy who hits on Mindy at the party. And she brushes him off because, she's not interested essentially. And we were both reading for it. And he has a ghost face mask on his wall. It was hanging on a hook. And we did the scene. We sat down and I was like, I don't know, man. I have a good feeling that one of us, and as I'm talking, the mask just went. And I was like, I don't believe in that kind of stuff. I was like, there you go. Something's going to happen. One of us is going to be in this movie. So just a fun little backstory there.
That's fun.
Largo's Lair is asking, how do they address horror sequel franchises in the storyline? Oh, they do head on. We'll get to that in just a few moments. But they leave the party. You know, Tara's mad at Sam for stalking her, essentially, and they head back to their place. And
not before Sam gets kind of harassed by someone on the street. Yeah. I got a shout out to Jenna Wheeler Hughes, who's a friend of mine in Montreal, for that fun little cameo, getting to mix it up a bit with Melissa Barrera. But yes, they go back to the house and we start kind of planting the seeds of the Chad Tara romance, which I think has been a big success. I think people are really responding to that, which is really exciting. Yeah,
and we meet the roommate, and we find out that her brother died in this scene, right?
Yes, and I think that's the first time I've had friends start tapping me on the shoulder, going, "I don't know about this. There's something wonky going on here." And also, Quinn is so funny and likable and witty. There's that sense of like, "Oh God, I hope it's not her," which is always a troubling sign. When you hope it's not someone, a lot of times that's who it is.
Yeah, she was with her boyfriend.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did she say?
Or not her boyfriend.
Yeah. Was it sexually proud that she referred to as the term of choice?
Sex positive.
Yeah, sex positive. That was it. Yes.
Yeah. That was a good line. And then and then they
By the
leave.
way, our mutual friend Halia Jones read for that role. Sorry, I'm gonna be annoying that way. Halia read for Quinn.
No.
You're fine.
You're inside baseball, man. This is perfect. Yeah.
She did a great tape. She did a really good tape. But obviously, I mean, Liana was fantastic. But Halia did a really, really cool tape. Yeah.
Yeah, when we had Halia on a few months ago, or maybe a month ago, she's like, watch Scream 6 closely. You might see somebody you know. But
yeah, she was one of the few people I told, because obviously she's good friends with Mason. So when I told her that I was going to be working with him, she called, and so Mason was kind enough to really show me around and introduce me to everybody, and he's a great guy. But yeah, that was really kind of thanks to Halia that I kind of had a foot in the door when I got there that day. So
that is awesome. It gave you more of a positive experience than you probably already would have had.
Oh my God, yeah, it was incredible.
Jason Takes Manhattan is on in the background of this scene on the TV, which is it the only one where they take New York until Scream?
I think I gotta think so. I mean, there's probably maybe a lesser known slasher that takes place in New York, or we're being really embarrassing and there's one that none of us are thinking about right now. But I gotta think since Jason Took Manhattan, this is the first one. And no offense to Jason Takes Manhattan, but I think this one's probably a better film all around than that one.
Yeah, Jason Takes Manhattan can't be fun. I will say that, but
it is. It's a blast. There's no question about that. Yeah. I'll never say no to someone wanting to throw on Jason Takes Manhattan.
Right, so then Tara, what? I can't remember. Why does Sam and Tara leave the apartment?
So they get a call. They see the news.
Okay.
Because you find out that Sam is seeing the guy across the hall, Josh Segarra's character, Danny. They're an item, and then Chad comes. You guys have to see this. There's the news. There's been a Ghostface murder, and Sam's first instinct is we got to get out of town. She's grabbing a knife, and Tara goes, "Slow down. Let's have Quinn call her dad." And it's Detective Bailey, Dermot Mulrooney, who goes, "You need to come to the station because they found your license at the crime scene." And of course, they have a pit stop at the bodega on the way to the police station.
I won when they said, "Let's call Sam's dad. He's a cop." I'm like, okay, I know who the killer is. I figured it out. At least I thought I'd figured it all out at that moment, but I hadn't yet. I was still developing part of it. But I'm like, all right, I think I figured this out. But no, man. When they go to the bodega, in my mind, I'm like, are we gonna get a Scream movie that just takes place in one night? Like that would be so intense.
I thought so too. I thought it was gonna be very contained like that. But let me just backtrack for a second though. Let me offer some light criticism for the Scream franchise, which is sometimes a tendency, and I got to be very careful because everyone knows I love the franchise, is I think sometimes if they're guilty of anything, it's if you look at the new cast, if there's someone that's a little more well-known than the rest, they're most likely the killer. Scream 2, Laurie Metcalf was on Roseanne. Scream 3, it was what's his name? Scott Foley, who was on Felicity at the time. Kind of a bigger name. Then you got Emma Roberts and Rory Culkin. Hayden Panettiere was a good red herring in that one, but Emma Roberts was big. She was, she's Julia Roberts' obviously cousin or niece, and she was making a big career for herself. Rory Culkin. Then Scream 5, Jack Quaid, The Boys. So when Dermot Mulroney was announced, I remember reading that article being like, yeah, boy. This could be. So that's my light criticism sometimes is me kind of fun if in Scream 7 or whichever one you do next, you hire well-known people as the entire supporting cast. So you just don't know who's. So that's what more than anything in the story, the fact that it was Dermot Mulroney was the thing that made me go, why would he sign on to the 6th movie in a slasher franchise if it's not something really meaty? So anyway, sorry. Again, more the way my broken brain works in figuring these things out.
No, man, that's a good theory. That's a really good theory. So yeah, the bodega scene was intense. Even though we'd seen it in the trailer, I was still on the edge of my seat because we didn't know how they would get out of it.
I really thought about how like upfront and brutal these guys were being. The murderers were being. I mean, it's broad. I mean, it's an evening time, but you're in New York City and you're clearing out a whole bodega. You are killing people left and right in a whole bodega. Like, I mean, I don't know the brashness of it. I mean, I don't know the Scream franchise as well as you guys, but like, has it happened before where the murderer's just like, whatever, I'm gonna push come to shove, I'm gonna kill everybody in this room, like in public. Like, bodegas are kind of more of a public place than someone's house or like an apartment or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, not to that degree.
No, in Scream 3, there was a little bit on the set of the movie, and then in Scream 1, Ghostface is following her in the convenience store.
Which doesn't really make sense if you like. That's the only part of that movie where I go, that doesn't really make sense because aren't the two guys at the video store? But yes, the way I justify that is I'm like, well, that could be two of the idiots from school. Or third killer, you think?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yes, that's very possible too. I mean, that could have been Roman Bridger could have been following her at that point. But I think that's the most brash and out there they've been in. Again, got to shout out my buddy Jason Cavalier, plays the store clerk that gets his head blown off. Love him. That was one of the weird things about seeing this one, having shot in my hometown of Montreal, is it didn't take me out of the movie, but I was like, oh my God, yes. Oh my God, it's Jason. Oh, there's Jenna. Like, so it was like kind of a fun thing. But yeah, I love that sequence. And, I know there was some backlash to Ghostface using a shotgun. And I'm like, oh, first of all, it's a 5-minute scene and then it's over. And second of all, it was crazy. I remember in the theaters, like, this is brutal and intense and super fun. So for me, I'm like, oh, more creative kills. Like, bring it on. Like, I was really into it.
And it made sense for the scene. Like 100%. If somebody's threatening to shoot him or her, they're going to take that gun, obviously, because they don't want to be shot either. I like this.
Beats knife most times.
It worked very, very well.
Yes, it was effective. Yeah, it was effective.
Yeah. So they Ghostface cops show up. Ghostface runs out the back, and
standard Ghostface. There's always a back door.
Leaves a mask.
Yeah.
The mask belonging to Richie, right? Or Amber.
Yes, I believe that's Richie or Amber. I mean, the one that, because I'm assuming in that scene it's Bailey that's there. I'm assuming he's the one that's in the store and he's wearing the Loomis mask. But yes, he leaves, I believe, Richie and Amber's mask. Yeah. And then they go to the station. Yeah.
So when we found out, the theory of Ghostface leaving the mask behind, I thought we were building up to maybe that third killer from Scream 1 that everybody's talked about since Scream 1 came out, or Stu's return that everybody's also been building up. And the radio silence is playing with the fans of the Stu is alive theory. They did in 5, they did in 6. Even on the poster for 6, the subway map, his was the only one that wasn't like the other killers who were dead. So these guys are having fun with that Stu theory. So it makes me think we're never going to see Stu again, guys. So I think you can get over it.
Here's the thing with this. I don't know where you both stand on this. I love Stu. I think Matthew Lillard freaking killed it. But he's dead. I feel like bringing him back is.
It's
I mean,
cheap.
obviously in this, yeah, it's cheap, and not like yes, in this movie, we'll get there. Chad gets stabbed a dozen times and lives, so anything can happen. But by saying there's a theory in the movie, by saying that there's a conspiracy theory that Stu is alive, you're acknowledging that he was at one point confirmed dead. Like when they thought about bringing him back in Scream 3, if you watch Scream 2 and 3, they never say Stu Macher is dead. They address him, and I think the plan was for him to be in prison in 3 in the original draft. There was a version where he was the puppet master. And I was like, that could have worked because we never really said, I mean, I would have thought it was a little cheap because he was very clearly dead, but whatever, fine. But now that they've said there's a conspiracy theory that he's alive, there had to be a moment where the world thought he was dead. And so I'm going, like, how does that work? Did a cop switch his body? Did he switch? But it just doesn't, I just don't see a logical explanation to make it happen. It would be fun, but I think I would be rolling my eyes pretty hard.
Yeah, we're getting to the Saw franchise real
exactly.
quick.
But I love Matthew Lillard and would love to see him again.
The more Matthew Lillard, the better. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming back in Five Nights at Freddy, I believe. So we'll see
that's
more
gonna
of
be
Matthew
fun.
Lillard, everybody. But
Yes. Shaggy.
So yeah, the police station. They talked to her dad, and he asked questions about her father and so on and so forth. And then we start dropping the hints that people think that she's the one doing what's happening right now, even though she was in the bodega with her sister.
Yes, and they also they kind of try to throw us off of Dermot in this scene when Sam basically accuses him of what are the odds that you get this case? And he's like, well, I can give it back. Like it was, and I'll get to, there's a point later in the movie where they did fool me for a second. They kind of fooled me for a moment later on, but I was still pretty much on the Dermot train at this point. But yeah, they're playing with formula a little bit. And of course, that's when they knock on the door and they say the FBI is here. And that's really fun because
we all know who it is. And in Scream 5, they did something very similar when Dewey called out the boyfriend for being the killer. It's like, it's him. Leave him. And then they did it again in this one. But man, seeing Kirby back was so fun. Because in these horror movies, if you don't see the body, they're still alive.
I was always a Kirby stan. I always said, she was my favorite character in 4. So I was thrilled to see her back. And I think they used her really well here. I think she's in the movie the exact right amount. The door is now very open for her to come back. I will say, though, in the event of a Scream 7, I'm very concerned for Kirby. I feel like now she's ripe for either opening kill or a big emotional kill midway through Scream 7. I'm more concerned about her in 7 than I was going into this one.
You thinking a Cotton Weary type?
She has a surplus of blood. We'll get to it at the end of this movie, but she has superhuman levels of blood inside of her.
I mean, they all do at this point.
That's right. They have backup blood. They have IVs that they keep on them.
Exactly. But yeah, I also like the fact that they kind of address the fact that Sam, Kirby, and Tara kind of know each other. And they kind of just stated it that I was like, oh, wow. So in Scream 4, when you watch that movie, you can think Sam is somewhere in that school as I guess a sophomore, or she's a junior, whatever phraseology they use. In Quebec, we don't say any of that stuff. But so I thought that was a really interesting choice too, to just get it out of the way. They know each other. They're friends. We don't need to do introductions and everyone kind of jumps on board really quickly with that, which I thought was smart.
I totally agree.
This Scream was, I think it acknowledges the other movies more than the rest of the movies have, I think, because the other movies are a huge part of the plot of this movie. Yeah. Getting into the thing that we'll find out about here very, very soon.
Yes.
So they leave the police station, and our friend Gail Weathers is outside. And wow, what a very nostalgic scene, for a throwback to Scream 1.
The music when they walk out of the station is the same music. Yeah.
And Gail learned nothing from the events of Scream 5. Nothing.
Yes. Well, it's funny. Yeah, it kind of makes sense, right? It's like we want, of course we want growth and we want an arc and everything, but we also love kind of old school Gale. And I think there was some feedback, I think, of 5 that she softened a little bit, and she people were like, oh, we miss kind of the badass Gale, and oh boy, is she back in this one.
And roaring back, yeah.
Oh yeah, quippy and fun, and yeah.
Just like we said with Sam, with Gale, there's two roads to go down after she loses Dewey, and she went down this one, and it makes sense. Like somebody's got to tell the story of Scream 5. Why not? See, okay, this is a good segue for me to bring up what I thought this movie was going to be. I thought Nev Campbell's not in there. And so the killer, I thought the motive was going to be to wipe the continuity of 5 out because they don't want the reboot. They want to continue the original continuity. So bringing Gale back in, who wrote the book on 5, it made sense to me because why would you write this? This doesn't fit into the story. And, we didn't get that, but it's still fun to think about. And I like this sequence with Gale. It made sense for me that Gale was this way.
Mm-hmm. And I love the punch. Like, what a great callback to the first 2 movies.
Yeah.
And again, I was in the theater when she dodged Sam's punch and said, "Nice try, sweetie, but I've done this dance before." In my head, I was like, "Oh my God, Tara's gonna punch her!" Like, yeah. I just like a millisecond before, and I think they know that too. So it plays with that expectation. And I also love the fact that there's some fun callbacks, like Sam quoting Gale's book to her, very reminiscent of Dewey quoting the book in Scream 2. And, somebody's going to write a book about it. Like, there's, when you replay your greatest hits, some people could say it could get a little tedious, but I think these guys are so good at doing it in a way that has a spin on it, that's still fresh. And this scene especially kind of evoked a lot of it. I was sitting in my nostalgia feels for 2 hours. It was like a warm blanket filled with blood and murder.
Yeah, it feels like fan service done right? Because they definitely had the fan in mind when they made this one, for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. And going back to what Jesse said earlier about you don't want to change the formula too much. Like, look at Last Jedi; mm-hmm. They changed the formula a lot. Even though I like that movie a lot, but Star Wars fans were enraged.
It's not good.
This movie does a really good job of adding some new elements, but also keeping the spirit of the original films in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting to think that this is the most different Scream film when you think about it, just in vibe. Like, it's the one that feels the most different, that pushes the story in the most different ways, but almost relies on your knowledge of the originals more than any other. And I saw it with people that didn't really follow the series, and I saw it with big fans, and everyone could kind of follow. They're like, yeah, I didn't necessarily get the reference, but I got it enough. It's an old killer, sure. Like, I get it, So the fact that you can make it accessible and feel like a cool kids club, I think, is a pretty amazing accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. All right, so back to the apartment.
Yes.
And a lot happens in this sequence. A lot of character development, and then the train starts rolling in a big way that's going to take us all the way to the end of this movie. And
foreshadowing.
You talk about Ghostface in the bodega being bold. Ghostface in this sequence is bold, but we'll get there in a second. Yeah. So, they're talking at the table. The core 4, even though they don't like that name, they don't want it to be Stick.
One of them likes it.
Quinn's in the bedroom again.
Maybe, yeah. Chad's loving the core 4 name. Yeah. And we're getting the vibe that they kind of like it too, but they don't want to be. And Sam opens up about how she's having a fling with, Danny across the hall. And it's a really nice kind of almost John Hughes, like, coming of age, really fun, heartwarming scene. And then they just deck us with arguably one of the most viscerally intense sequences in the entire franchise.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I'm glad that Sam came out about the guy that she's has a fling with, because in a lot of movies they wouldn't mention that, and then you'd have this, and then he would obviously be the red herring. And if she had just told them, then it wouldn't have been a big deal. But we see Ghostface in Quinn's room.
I think there's a lot of questions about this. There seems to be a lot of, like, I've I go on the YouTube pages and I watch the reviews. I think there were some people that had an issue with this moment because they felt it was a cheat. That not that he's standing over her, but that she sounds like she's talking to her dad, and they're like, "Well, who's she talking to?" Right?
Mhm.
If let's pretend that that's Ethan that's in the Ghostface garb behind her. Sorry, I'm spoiling ahead of time, but they're like, who's she talking to? What's the point of this? And in my mind, it makes perfect sense because she's not only performing for Danny across the street, somebody's taking pictures across the street too. And the guy she's sleeping with is in the bathroom. If they don't successfully kill that guy and he somehow gets out, he's going to say, yo, Quinn's in on it. Like,
plausible
so
deniability.
I actually have no problem with that moment. And it leads to, again, one of the greatest sequences. Now, I have to ask you guys, did you buy that Quinn was dead?
No.
Did you?
Me being kind of I don't want to say novice of Scream, but like a passerby of Scream, I thought she was dead. I did.
Nope, we didn't see the kill, so it didn't happen. Even though technically we didn't see the kill with the boyfriend either, and he was dead.
We saw the kill. His body was mangled in the bathtub. What do you mean?
Didn't see him getting killed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're saying if you see the body afterwards, it doesn't count still?
Yeah, we saw Quinn's body afterwards too, but I'm saying that we didn't see Quinn get stabbed.
Fair enough.
So in my mind, she's still running as the killer.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, ooh, that's weird that we didn't see because she's been such a funny, entertaining presence so far. And it felt like kind of cheap not to see her get killed. But I will say what they did do well is by the time we got to the third act, I had almost forgotten about it. So, and obviously when things started coming out, I said, okay, it's going to be Quinn. Like at that point but I'd kind of moved on. I had said, oh, maybe she's dead. Like, I don't know, maybe because I still thought it was Dermot, but I said, maybe it's like Scream 4 where Emma Roberts says my own mother had to die. It's like, maybe he killed his daughter. Maybe he's, really screwed up in the head. I did kind of forget. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had a thought prior to her dying that it was the cop. So it did definitely dissuade me from thinking it was him. So it did its job for like the novice Scream person, right? Because like I had an inkling it was him. And then when his daughter died, I was like, well, he wouldn't murder his own daughter, would he? And then like.
But you were right. He wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Murder his daughter to avenge his son.
That's right. Yeah. Family.
But man, so Ghostface like comes out of the bedroom like full force against everybody. There's so many people in that room that could have gone so many ways wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and this is while the boyfriend, the pseudo boyfriend is like frantically trying to get a hold of them, right? And
that's great too. Like
not working. I love that part of it where he's just like
so great
calling and they're having like a fun family time at the dinner table and like
not answering the phone,
being murdered in the next room.
It could have been a roll your eyes moment, like why aren't you answering for your boyfriend? But no, it made sense that they weren't because they were in the middle of trying to figure out what they were going to do and what the plan was.
And they're kind of teasing her, like, she's got a lot on her head, on her mind at that moment. She's not thinking about answering what she probably thinks is like a booty call or whatever. I bought it. Would he have thrown something at the window? That was my only question. Like, you're not grabbing something and like throwing it at the window, but whatever.
If you have that ladder nearby, wouldn't you be bashing the window? Like, you know what I mean? But I don't know how close it was. It could have been the whole time while in between him getting that to now to getting it, but that's fine. But my thing was, and I think there was a high level of skepticism that he might be a part of the murders, right? I mean, she's already had one boyfriend be a murderer. Like I wouldn't be answering the phone if I have a doubt of there's a killer on the loose. Like we're just kind of a new thing, right? Like, you're getting close to me and the people I care about. Like I wouldn't be so interested in talking to you either, right? Regardless of.
She did the thing that I wish Sydney had done in Scream 2. She kept telling the boyfriend to go away.
Yes.
Leave me alone. Let me figure this out, and we can talk later.
Yeah, past boyfriend tried to murder me. There's some trauma here. Gotta hold on.
He was a great red herring. There were moments later in the movie where I started going, maybe it is him. Like, again, I was pretty sure. I look back and I go, I was right overall. But there were definitely moments where they did some good work in making me think that either he was in on it with Dermot or what. But he was an effective red herring for sure.
To me, it'd be too on the nose between the past movie. Like I was like, we can't have two boyfriends in a row. Like, I mean, maybe we can. Maybe they're just using that against me. But like during the movie, I was like, I feel like he's safe just because of the redundancy of it. Like I didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a killer from the Scream franchise that needs to come back, and that is in Scream 3. I think it's Angelina, who was supposed to be the second killer in Scream 3.
She was. Yeah.
And she lived. So she's another one we could come back. And I know that did you see this? I'm skipping a little bit, but did you see the Jennifer Jolie shout out? Now everybody thinks she's still alive.
Yeah, what was there's something in the theater or something. There was
her name as a part of a talk show. It was some kind of talk show with Jennifer Jolie.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it, but somebody pointed out there was an Easter egg about that. That'd be fun. I mean, she's definitely considered by many to be the highlight of 3. She was great. I love her, and I'd still love them to try to find a way to bring back Patrick Dempsey. I think that'd be really fun.
They're name dropping the character in both movies so far.
Oh my God, yeah. And I think the Radio Silence guys even said that there were not with. I don't think it got to the point where they were talking to Patrick Dempsey, but maybe when Nev was still maybe going to do the movie, they said there were discussions about reaching out to him and bringing him back. We have potential to have a stacked Scream 7, stacked. God.
I mean, if it's ending this trilogy of movies, it makes sense. I would kind of blow the budget on this one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. One more and then call it. Do Scream 7 and then take another break for 10 years. End the story. Because I don't want to see diminishing returns. And they're maintaining the quality so well right now. So I say Radio Silence does one more, bring everybody back, maybe introduce only 1 or 2 new characters and just make it all returning people. Because then, we're really crapping our pants every scene.
Yeah. Oh my God.
When we're done with this review, I was just thinking about it. We should do kind of the hypothesis of what 7 would look like. You know what I mean? Or what, you know what I mean? Is I have some theories. But.
Me too. I got a couple fun ones too.
I think Scream 7 should almost do a huge cap on all 7 movies. So I would like to see all 6 movies tied in together at the very end to bring back stuff, because there are characters from the original movies that are still alive. The cameraman from Scream 2 is still alive.
Joel,
he was one of my favorite characters. He was the smart one. He got the hell out of Dodge.
Well, and you know the funny story? Yeah, the funny story about that was the actor's name is escaping me, but I'm an encyclopedia of Scream. Forgive me. He said scripted he was supposed to die. And he went up to Wes Craven and he said, I'm telling you, this doesn't make sense. I would leave. And Wes Craven apparently looked at him and goes, well, what do you mean you would leave? What would you do? He goes, I'd call a cab and I would leave. And Wes Craven apparently took a second and went, let's bring him a cab. And they rewrote it because the actor was so strong. No, why would I stay? Yeah. And Wes Craven said, you're right. And so they reworked that whole thing for that actor. And I love that story because he's not wrong. Why is he sticking around?
I remember the Randy rumors when 2 came out. Right after 2 came out, there's all these rumors. Randy's actually a killer. They faked his death and he's stashed off somewhere. And even Wes Craven said that after 2, I think Jamie Kennedy said it too. They tried every way they could possibly think of to bring him back, and they could not make it work. And then Scream since then has been afraid to kill main characters, which we've kind of broke that in 5, and then we're back to it in 6. But so Ghostface just attacks them. 2 people get stabbed, and they get holed up in Quinn's room.
Yeah. And poor Devin Nakota, who's if I'm not mistaken, a fellow Canadian, and I think a fellow Ontario resident, kills it in this movie. She's fantastic.
She did great
as Annika. Yeah, and one of the most memorable deaths of the whole franchise. She does such a great job, and she's so nice. Her and I chatted a bunch when I was there, and I just thought she did a really great job with. It's not a huge role. It's her screen time is limited while she's there, but she's very impactful. And really, those last couple moments are just brutally heartbreaking. Where
Yeah,
a lot
after
of
I think no, I'm sorry.
No.
After her second stab, I was like, "Ooh, you're not making it." Like there was something about that, like one where I was like, "Okay, whatever happens, she's not making this. Like whatever, this is the scene for her."
There's a lot of second stabs. I didn't think we're gonna make it.
Fair, but like I didn't think she. Frankly, I didn't think she was a big enough character to like warrant like okay, she's gonna have superhuman like healing like Wolverine. But also it's good to note that there was no weapons in the house, right? Someone had actively removed things to defend themselves with in the house, which kind of points to foreshadowing, right? Some other characters that you thought you could trust, but you can't.
That's a great moment where she goes for the knives and all the knives are gone.
Yeah, she just uses it as a block at that point.
Yeah,
she's under,
she smashes him in the head. I'm really glad Melissa Barrera is getting her flowers for this one, because she did a great job. And Sam, I think, both. I love the idea that it's such a hard act to follow Sydney, and the fact that they chose to do it with two sisters, I think, is really smart. It's a really smart decision, and they complement each other so well. And Jenna Ortega is obviously exploding right now.
Right.
And Melissa Barrera as kind of the more, they're both badass, don't get me wrong, but having Sam be almost like the Ellen Ripley of the two, I think was a really great decision.
Oh my God. Jenna Ortega is going to be a scream queen before too long. She said she wants to do more horror. She was in X last year, Scream 5 last year, Scream 6 this year, and Wednesday. Yeah, this girl's a star.
Spoiler alert, I'm 99% sure we're going to hear she's doing Scream 7 any day now. I can't imagine that movie's not getting greenlit.
I guarantee Nev's coming back too. They're going to get Nev back.
They'll get her back because they're going to get more money for the next one. They're going to have a bigger budget, and I think they'll pay her whatever she wants. And it was interesting not having her in this one. It's when people ask me, they're like, what did you feel? I was like, I didn't necessarily miss Sydney because I thought the storyline was really catered well to not have her there, but I missed Nev. That makes sense. I missed Nev being in the movie, even though seeing it, I was like, you didn't need Sydney. Like she wasn't necessary to the story. Having her in might have felt shoehorned. I know they said when she left, some things were shifted. They said the motive shifted a little bit. I'm so curious what it was before. But I don't think you miss Sydney. You miss Nev a little bit.
Sure.
But they did a great job.
Been Scream 4, I think they were going to do this, where Nev Campbell was going to get attacked in the opening sequence and then come back later in the movie. I think it would have been cool to see Nev Campbell get attacked in this and then not come back until the next movie. Like if they had shot a small sequence where Sydney was attacked and Ghostface was almost successful, I think that would have been.
I think with IP so big, like with we're going on to a 7th movie, I think less is more whenever it comes to like fan service, right? Like I'd rather be like a book or a scene like on the TV. Like that's the callbacks you probably should be having rather than like whole characters, because then it gets kind of cheesy. I think if like we're having the Avengers assemble of the Scream franchise, it seems kind of off.
Yeah, you got to be careful for sure. I think. I'd heard a rumor for this one, and this I actually think, this is a little fan servicey, I guess, but this would have been fun. I don't think this was ever true, so take it with a grain of salt. But someone had said there were rumors that she was going to have a scene in the movie, like on the phone with Sam or whatever, and then she was going to be in like a post-credit scene or something where her and her family get attacked, and she ends up like, I think, killing the Ghostface or something. But I again, that might not be true at all, but that's a rumor that I heard a while back, not from anybody in production, but from somebody on a site or something. Yeah,
I read that too. That's what I thought our post-credit scene was going to be. I was like sitting in the theater, really anticipating the post-credit scene. I'm like, Scream's never had one. But
instead, it just shat on you for expecting one.
I'm going to break the formula a little bit because it's better when we're just talking than it is going through the plot devices. So let's just talk about the movie from this point on. And that ladder sequence was just amazing. It was so intense.
Beautifully staged. Like these guys know what they're doing behind the camera. Like, and I think what you can so feel in this movie, and I felt it when I had my interactions with them, which admittedly were brief, but is the sense of fun. They were having so much fun on that set. It was the atmosphere there was just joyous and fun and laughing and joking and like what's going to be the best thing. And yeah, through their own admission, it's not always logical. It doesn't always kind of pass the smell test. Like they've said, Chad would be dead. There's no debate. But they go, we didn't care. We wanted him to live. And I think that infectious energy is really present in the movie, especially in scenes like the ladder scene, where you could just tell they're like, oh, this is going to be good. Yeah. Let's draw this out. Let's, the shots from the bottom looking up. Like it's one of the most ingenious sequences for sure in the franchise.
That, like, I mean, I just felt bad for her, right? Just spoilers. I forget, what was her name again? I'm sorry. Annika. Yeah, I mean, she was the last one to go across the ladder. She always knew that person's probably the one that's going to die. And, like, I don't know. She had a giant cut. I think it went straight up, right? Like, she's bleeding out. Like, you're trying to crawl when you're bleeding out of your stomach. Like, that seems unimaginably painful. Like, so, like, I don't know. A lot of bad things are happening to that girl.
And you can see it on her face. She's got that great moment, too, where they're, like, all yelling. And Mindy's like, she's losing a lot of blood. And she yells, say something more positive. Which I loved, yeah.
My question is, in the next scene, the dad says later on, he says that he swapped out the bodies. How did he get a body in there? Like, did they stage this, like, a week ago and just have a dead body just chilling in the room? Or did he bring it up when he came to investigate?
Again, now we're getting into the territory of like, let's not think about it too hard. But I guess the idea is, well, my question more is like, was he planning on getting away with all of this? Or was he planning on doing this and then kind of going on the run? Because if he was planning on going on the run, I have less of an issue. Because I'm like, oh, he swapped it out with he went out, killed some girl that looked like his daughter, slit her throat, which is screwed up enough as it is.
Yeah.
Threw the body in the trunk, replaced it, I guess, and then probably just said, yeah, that's my daughter, identified her, and that maybe bought him some time. And I was like, but eventually they're going to figure out it's not her. Like,
I do think that it is, I agree with you. I think it is him, like, throwing away his life out of revenge, right? I don't want to spoil it too much at the end. I think, like, he expected this to be like, I'm not going to get away with it. Maybe my kids will, but I'm not going to, and we're going to just figure it out, right?
Yeah. I think that's the way to look at it, where it kind of makes the most sense. And I mean, listen, we can, again, you can kind of poke holes in it a bunch of times, but I know, like, and it's subjective, obviously, but I know from my standpoint, I was like, I don't care. This is just so much fun. This is great, and it's so well done. But yeah, I guess the logistics of it are definitely fishy.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, well, at this point we spoiled it pretty heavily that he's the one of the main players. But I mean, he's a police officer, right? Like, I think they can get away with almost anything with their badge. Like, especially like they can figure something out. Like, oh, there's a gas leak. Oh, okay, well, I'm gonna go to this. You know what I mean? Like, they can figure plenty of ways to get that body in, especially if you have it in the apartment. Like,
yeah, especially if you go with the logic that if that is him or Ethan that's doing it, like, they've all left the apartments, they've got tons of time.
Yeah, and he has access to a morgue, right? He could probably find a girl that looks very similar to his daughter, dye her hair if she, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It's New York City. It's a very large city. You can find plenty of probably like-minded bodies that unfortunately have passed away.
Yes.
Relatively similar.
For sure.
So, the sequence after this, the rules and stuff, I like the rules for this one. I like that we went for the franchise motif, which makes the post-credit scene, like, just add to that so much more. And I dug this sequence. And again, we're calling out one of the killers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right there on the screen. Yeah, like, where were you?
So let me give a little more, inside baseball. When I was there that day, I actually, just by whatever happenstance, was sitting in the kind of the cast green room. I was sitting with Jack Champion, who plays Ethan, and we were chatting. First of all, he's a really nice kid, and his career is exploding with Avatar and everything, and he's fantastic and just really nice, down to earth, big Scream fan. And he didn't tell me anything. but he did say, he's like, oh yeah, like I went to see Top Gun with the directors last night. They treated me, and just the three of us went. And in my head, I went, why are you going to a movie with the directors alone? I don't know. It was something. I mean, he's a young guy. Maybe they were just being nice. Obviously, they're all friends. But there's something about that. I was like, that's a little weird.
It's Among Us talk.
That that you're like hanging out with the directors alone. I was like, this feels maybe like they're prepping you and really trying to hang out with you because you're going to be a big factor in the end game. Now, I very much could have been wrong, but I remember just like my spidey senses going, okay. And he's got the perfect build, right? He's just built like he's like, average height, average weight, like, just kind of has the look that you would expect, like that really nice, innocent face that at the end can turn super maniacal. Yeah, but yes, I love that sequence too. And Jasmine Savoy Brown, who plays Mindy, is so good at that stuff. I love her on Yellow Jackets too. She's on there with my buddy Kevin Alves, and she was really sweet to me too that day. And she does a great job in those big kind of explaining the rules scene. I think she's picked up the torch really, really well from Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Some of my favorite scenes of all the screens when they break it out and they just talk about it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. The sting operation, I really dug. With the white van, it was very reminiscent to Randy, and I know they were going for that. And even Mindy's calling him out on it. Like, we're in a van, just like when our uncle died in college.
I loved that pause. Like, there's a little point like, oh, she's right. Hey, stay frosty. It's like, it was so
Kirby's just like, huh? Yeah, exactly. And they got me again when they said the call's coming from across town. Again, I clued in a millisecond before I was like, oh no, Gail. Like that's. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, but exactly. The girls taking the bull by the horn saying, let's lure him out into the open. It was great. You get to see, fake Central Park. And that was really fun. I knew where that park is in Montreal. So that was always fun to see as well.
Does it look like, sorry to interrupt you, but I have to think, does it look like Central Park naturally? Or is there a lot of special effects work that go into like making it look more like Central Park?
There's some serious green screen going on. They did a good job. Yeah. Like I only recognized it because of like certain benches and just the kind of the geography of it. I think it's Parc La Fontaine. But anyway, they did it. They did a good job. And I saw it with someone who's from New York who said, she goes, the only reason I really could tell was that it wasn't as jammed as New York is. Yeah. Except for obviously the subway sequence, which we'll get to.
Yeah. I love Central Park twice, and it is super packed. Like, it is a very busy park, especially on a nice day.
I skipped one of my favorite sequences, which was the museum of Ghostface.
Oh, the shrine, yeah.
Like that
was a lot of fun.
When we first met Kirby, I'm like, she's Kirby, but she doesn't remind me of the Kirby from Scream 4. And then in the museum sequence, we get the Kirby that we knew from Scream 4. So it hints that, she's the Kirby of young is still in there. Like, even though she went through this traumatic experience, her love for horror, and they say something in this sequence that I've said for many, many years, that Psycho 2 is one of the best horror sequels of all time, because it is. And if you haven't seen it, you guys should check it out. But
I haven't seen it. I gotta watch it. I'll take your word for it. I gotta watch it.
It's really well done.
Word for it. They brought it up in Scream.
Yeah, I was like, yes, I've been saying that for many, many years. It's such an underrated sequel. And I love them talking about movies and the crush on Corey Feldman. Like, that was just so member berries. Like, I loved it. I loved all of it. And seeing the stuff, stuff from Jill, and seeing Kirby's reaction to seeing, the knife that stabbed her, and, Sam's
the picture of the blood on the ground too there. Yeah.
It was good. Yeah. Sorry, it calls back to, not to go to the front of the movie, but the two killers the pseudo killers, right? They had a shrine in their closet, right? Similar idea, like different masks and things like that. But
yeah, exactly. And this is not to really let my inner nerd out, but I definitely in that whole sequence, there's a really nice scene with Sam and Gail, where they talk about family and their mother's estranged, and they go, you make your own family, and Dewey's theme plays in that moment. and I literally in a press screening cried. It was so embarrassing. I literally kind of muttered. I was like, "Are you kidding me right now that I'm crying about this?" But just like,
don't be embarrassed.
really, really nice moment. Yeah. Also, maybe I'm wrong on this. I thought I picked up on with Kirby and Mindy a little bit. I think that they might do something there. I think there might have been a little maybe some mutual interest between the two of them. I was like, oh, that could be a fun, coupling for the next the next movie.
We couple the kill in 7, yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah.
We'll get to it in a minute, but Courtney Cox gets her first call with Dewey.
Yeah,
Ghostface. It's not the first time Ghostface called Gale Weathers, but it's the first time that Gale Weathers answered the call and talked, because in the 2, Randy answered the phone and did the phone call on Gale's phone. But this is one of the best sequences in this movie. One, the call is intense. I like how Ghostface constantly refers to himself as if he is the person from the previous movie and so on and so forth. We've never talked before, Gale.
Yeah.
And I like that she called him out. You're the 10th idiot that's tried this and never works out.
It was fantastic. The tension was there. I really wasn't sure how it was all going to wrap up, and yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad for all of their love interests, right? How do you, in good conscience, have a significant other when you're constantly fighting murderers? That poor dude was just having dinner with his girlfriend and just got taken out.
and not only that, she kind of trashes him after he's dead.
Yeah,
the Ghostface is like, "Oh, all those muscles didn't really help him," and she goes, "They certainly didn't." I was like, "Whoa, that feels like a cheap shot." Now that he's lying there dead. Jeez.
He's not even
I know we all love Dewey, but this guy, he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. He existed around you and got murdered.
And we get a nice callback to Jason Voorhees when Ghostface throws him through the bookshelf, because that's something that Jason does a lot in his movies. And I dug this sequence. Not that I think Quinn could kill that guy, but she caught him off guard, and it was fun. And I thought Gale was gone. I think they thought Gale was gone when they filmed this sequence. I think that was a last-minute change because...
Oh, it might have been. I should, again, here I go again. I should ask my buddy Elizabeth Neal, plays the paramedic that comes in and says, slight pulse. I should ask her and get back to you. I should message her and say, was that always what was scripted? Or was there a version where you were like, oh, she's gone?
Yeah.
I'm so curious.
That would be fun to know.
That's a really great question. Yeah. I'll ask her for sure, because I thought so too. I wonder if the restraint came from, we want Nev to be present if we ever kill Gale or Sydney. I wonder if that maybe is what it was. Maybe that was always the plan for her to live. But I know what you mean, that because Gale doesn't appear again for the rest of the movie, which is, I think, the first time she's not been in a climax at all.
Not.
In 4, she's in the hospital. 2, she gets shot and she's kind of out of commission for a lot of it, but she is there. This is the first time that she's not at all present for the unmasking and everything. So that's a very good point.
Yeah.
And Gale gets messed up in this. I mean, she does some damage too, but she gets messed up. She was a very strong lady though. That was a good scene for her, I think.
Yeah, she gets stabbed, I think, 3 times. Which again, is not a high number in this movie. It's not a high number in this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for it. I definitely breathed a sigh of relief when they said she was okay, or that she did slight pulse. Because once they said she had a slight pulse, I said, okay, she's fine.
Yeah, she's probably alive. Yeah.
You're not gonna kill her off camera. If she's dying, we're gonna see it. I was definitely relieved because Dewey hurt so bad. So I'm glad. We'll get at least probably one more appearance by Gale.
I don't know. Did Dewey's kill didn't get as much backlash as Randy's did, right? I think it's because I think Dewey's felt more earned, because Dewey was kind of one of the leads in the first half of Scream 5. He was
100%. I thought he was safe, and then he got murdered.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a feeling they were gonna do him in. I also actually thought, shout out to David Arquette. I love David Arquette in the entire franchise, but I thought he probably did his best work in 5. I thought he was really, really, really good. I think there was the only backlash I read was like, oh, would he leave his phone on? Would he go back? But I was like, yes, he would. I mean, there was the thing about Dewey was I used to call him the Neville Longbottom of the Scream movies, which was like he had courage beyond ability. He was so brave and he was so loyal and sweet and caring, but he wasn't the brightest. He wasn't, he didn't always think things through. He was a bit of a goof, but he was, again, so brave, always had your back. And like, no matter what happened, and he is in 5 at the beginning, as much as he pretends not to care and not want to get involved, it's just in him. He's a protector. So I loved that death. I thought it was heartbreaking and sad and beautiful. And I think, for the most part, people embraced it. But you're not going to please everybody. There's always some kind of backlash or, people don't like it for X, Y, and Z. But it really worked for me. I'm a sucker for these new ones. I really like these guys behind it. So I'm pretty on board with most of the stuff they've done.
Yeah, me too. And the subway sequence was also terrifying because I didn't know where the Ghostface hit was going to come at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's so many Easter eggs in that scene too. All the different costumes, and if anyone's seen Radio Silence, is the movie that kind of got them Scream Ready or Not. There's Samara Weaving's character's costume is in there. The bride, her costume's on the train, and you can see the directors for a split second. They're on the train too. But that sequence is really effectively done and really makes you think twice about getting on a train in New York that has blinking lights. If the lights aren't working, get off the train.
Yeah, I've been on the subway a few times in New York, and never once has that happened.
Escape Room 2 had a train, and was it 2? I think it was 2. They had a train, and no train. Trains are bad. All trains.
Yeah, train. Bad news. Bad news.
Final Destination hasn't done a train yet. They should think about doing a train.
Well, I'm sure they're going to make another one at some point. So that'd be a good way to start it. Yeah, exactly. But I also thought for a second we were going to lose Mindy here. But then again, when they cut away and she was still alive and she says, "Fuck this franchise," I said, "Okay, she's okay. Yeah. Like she's going to be all right." That was, it was just really well done. It's just beautifully shot, really, really tense, just very well done. Again, this movie is so well executed.
And that whole scene was, I think, to lead people away from Ethan still, right? I think it was all to make sure, hey, he was sitting there chilling with his, I mean? I don't think he wasn't the one that murdered her, was he? Or tried to murder her?
No, I think it was Quinn. Quinn is wearing the mask. And again, this is a good point. It was another scene that people, a couple people were like, oh, well, then why would he help her if he's Ghostface? And again, it makes total sense to me. I was like, well, she's not dead. She's still alive. And now there's people around. If you don't help her and she somehow lives, they're gonna know right away it's you.
Yeah.
So that again, that's something that I thought was not a plot hole, and it didn't really bother me. And it did a pretty good job of making me think, oh, he's not even there. It can't really be him. Like I actually started again doubting in my own brain, like, okay, maybe I was wrong. Yeah. Maybe it's not him.
I think Quinn did a lot of the heavy lifting in this movie because she was quote unquote dead. So
kind of like Amber in the last one, where the whole joke in this one is that Amber did most of the killing in Scream 5.
Richie's a punk.
Yeah, exactly.
The final showdown is amazing, and the whole theater sequence. They even fit in a heartwarming sequence between Tara and Chad. And I like that. Like, I don't know that we've had the Scream movies have a heartwarming moment in the final, confrontation. I mean, a little bit in Scream 2 when
I was going to say that one. Yeah, and a little bit with Dewey and Gale. Kind of, it's very similar. They start to kind of hook up, and then, but that's a little earlier in the movie. You're right. That's not really at the end. Like, you're right. This is right before the climax. And then of course, Ghostface, the biggest cock block of them all.
That's right.
Comes in and has to ruin it.
Yeah, he
you know
does.
what? I just realized it's kind of it kind of rhymes. Like Quinn interrupts them at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then if that's her at the end, she kind of interrupts them at the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun little some symmetry there.
Yeah, and man, does Chad get messed up. How many times was Chad stabbed?
I mean, he's dead, right? In 2 different movies, that dude is dead.
He's the new Dewey.
Yeah. Exactly. I almost thought when they wheeled him out at the end, they were going to play the Dewey theme. Like I was waiting for the dun, 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 dun. I was like waiting for it. And, you know, again, credit to the directors. They've said it. They're like, we didn't want to do it. We didn't want to kill him. And they go, like, you know, they say, does it make sense? No, he'd be dead. And they said they toned it down. There's a cut of the movie where he only gets stabbed once or twice. But when they screened it for people, they went, oh, he's not dead. Like he's fine.
Yeah,
they're like, we had to pick our decision. It's like, do we make it obvious he's going to live, or do we really make you think he's dead? And you know, again, I let that stuff go, but I was definitely going like, you guys have done a little damage to the effectiveness of a stab in this movie, a little bit. Like, you know, now I never think anyone's dead. But I
realize it only takes one.
Yes. And for everyone out there, don't think you can get stabbed 10 times and live. That's not accurate.
Little public service announcement.
But yeah, I was happy to see him at the end. I really was. I was kind of happy he lived, even though it didn't really make sense. I was happy to see him.
It's fine. Yeah, me too.
I can't remember. He gave the thumbs up at the end, like Dewey did, right?
He gave the 4 for core 4.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right, awesome.
And then she takes off his oxygen mask and kisses him. I was like, Tara, he needs to get to the hospital. Like, he's hanging on by a thread. Like, do not touch anything. Get him in the ambulance. Go. Yeah.
Tara, he was sliced and diced. He doesn't have time to make out.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh. But they did get me with the Kirby fake out in this one. I bought it kind of, because I mean, if you really break it down, you could kind of maybe buy that maybe she was helping Jill and didn't know about Charlie or something, and maybe she was involved in Scream 4. And they got me for a moment. I'm like, oh my God, is it Kirby? It can't be Kirby. Yeah. It's too obvious now. It's got they did get me. Like, how does Kirby play into all this?
Yeah, I love the whole movie feel of it too. Yeah, sorry. The projector and stuff. I like the atmosphere of the whole thing.
Yeah, and that was the moment for me too, where I went, oh, maybe it's not Bailey. Like, oh my God, maybe I got this wrong. And in my head, I was like, oh, and I was already thinking, I was like, oh, there's going to be backlash about this boy. Like, people love Kirby. Like, this is going to be. And then of course they flip it on its head one last time. And I said to my, like, well done. And then when both ghost faces flank Bailey, even though I'd kind of at that point gone, okay, I think I can piece together what's going on here. I was, again, really excited. It's not even about like, it has to be that shocking for me. It just has to be done effectively. That's sort of where I stand. It's like, there's only a certain amount of people it can be in a slasher. So no matter who it is, I'm rarely going to be so shocked, because it's like, well, it's one of these 6 people. And if it's one of those 6 people, I'm not going to be that surprised. But although Scream 2, I was pretty surprised by Laurie Metcalf. But anyway, I just thought it was really effectively done. You know, the climax is a little cheesy. There's portions of it that, are pushed a little bit. But again, I just ate it up. Ate it up. Take my money. Here's all my money. Let me see it again and again and again.
It did one cardinal sin for me in terms of like a fight sequence is, if I have a gun and you have a knife, I'm not running towards you. It bothered the heck out of me. Like, they're on the Sam and Bailey were fighting on the parapet or whatever.
She's out of bullets and he just charges her instead of shooting her.
Yeah. I was just like, bro, you're a police officer. Like, of the people that know the knowledge of like, hey, like bullets travel. Like, it just bothered me a little bit. I'm like, of all fine, have her hit in the shoulder, then like get close. You know what I mean? Whatever. I don't care, but like at least like have some common sense with that. But it's fine. A lot of movies do it, and it bothers me with that too. But I can live with it.
I really dug that that we saw two
No,
ghost
go ahead.
faces charging her, because we've never seen two ghost faces in full costume going after somebody. This is the first movie to do it, and obviously, there was a reveal that there's actually a third one in this case, and I did like that they changed it up a little bit and had more than one or two people doing it. What would be
I
fascinating
agree.
in a future Scream movie is if one of the killers gets killed, like in the middle of the movie, and then the other ones continue the trend. Like that would be so cool to see, like an unveil in the middle of a Scream movie. Like Radio Silence, if you're listening.
I mean, they kind of did in the front half of the movie, right?
They did.
I mean,
they weren't involved though. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
I'd like to see one of the killers that were involved, and then there should be one more clue for them to try to figure out maybe what the motives were, so forth. But I loved it. And then Tara and Sam's sequence where Tara's hanging down and she's trying to pull her sister back up, and finally decides to, metaphorically and physically let go. It was really, really well done.
Yeah, it got me. I definitely had goosebumps. It's the Chekhov's gun, right? You introduce it at the beginning, you have to let me go. I thought for a while near the beginning, I said, "Oh, is Tara gonna die?" And that's gonna be the thing. She's gonna be like with her last breaths. It's okay, let me go. Obviously, I was happier with this because, I'm such a feel good sucker that I want everybody to be okay and happy after getting mercilessly stabbed, mind you.
Right.
It just really, really, really beautiful character moments. That's what I think, again, where this new movie excelled and this new trilogy is really killing it, is really taking time to pause and have these nice character moments in a slasher movie. And that's why I think Scream stands above a lot of the others.
And I think you had a good thought. At least I thought it was good. It was the John Hughes reference. It did feel like when we had personal moments, it did feel like a John Hughes movie, right? I mean, obviously we're sunk into a horror film, but it did feel kind of. I didn't think about it until you talked about it, but I think that's a apt.
Oh, I forgot to mention one of the tropes that they used really well in this that I thought wasn't used quite as well in Scream 5, which is all of the Billy Loomis stuff in Scream 6.
Yeah,
is great. They found a great way to use Skeet, and very, very well done. And I like that she's kind of in his head. Like, am I part of this guy's legacy, or am I my own person? Like, trying to. And then she ends up putting on his Ghostface costume, was just
knife.
So cool. So cool. And the fact that he only lived in this one in the reflection of his own thing, I think was good. I liked the use of him in the last one, but there was a part of me that was going, okay, well, what are the rules here of this? Like, what's the extent to which he can comment? I had an issue in 5. Sorry, Radio Silence, I love you guys, but I did have a glaring issue in 5 at the end when she's with Richie and she's reaching for the knife under the curtain, and she looks up and it's actually Billy that points it out to her. I remember being in the theater going, well, hold on a second. If he's in her head and he's not real, how is he pointing out things that she can't see? I said that almost made it seem supernatural to me.
Like a force ghost.
Yeah. Maybe, and I was like, that, Sorry.
Maybe she had seen it and just forgot, and that was her subconscious, pointing it out to her. But I did like Billy in 5. I just thought, in Scream 6, she's on, we assume she's on meds. She's seeking out the help and so forth. So maybe some medicine to help her with her visions and so forth. So seeing it in the Ghostface reflection, I think, just kind of shows her progress, because this is now the only way that she kind of sees those memories. And like this whole, and I thought we were going to get a Ghostface to stay alive. I really did. Me too. I thought Dylan was coming back, and I think it'd be fun to see a Ghostface in prison. Like, all right, we're gonna go talk to this guy. Maybe he can help us solve the mystery in Scream 7.
The Hannibal Lecter thing.
Yeah. That's why cool. I wish there was a way. Like, the whole Stu thing fascinates me in a way, because I think it would be cool to see that maybe Stu was behind everything, like the plotting of
cool
Scream 2,
stuff.
Putting those two together, and Roman went out a little bit on his own, and then Scream 4, he helped Jill and so forth from prison, and so on and so forth, and just being able to have that element of, this is cool. We can go talk to Stu and find out why this is all pointing to the beginning.
Yeah, I like the full circle of it. I just, and I could be convinced. I'm just curious what the logistics of it would look like. But yeah, I agree. Like, I thought that there would be some kind of a cliffhanger ending to this one. We've also never had. I'm 90. I think I'm right on this. We've never had a returning character be Ghostface, and I always thought that would be kind of interesting. I had my eye on Mindy a little bit coming into this one because in the fifth one, she's kind of cold about a lot of the deaths. She's like, well, she could still die, second or third killing. And I said, I could see her being like in this one going, they screwed up. Like, I'm going to perfect it. Like, I thought that might have been a thing.
That could be good.
Yeah, but it would be tough after this one because I think they also kind of doubled down on her being, really innocent and good. Mm-hmm. Like that scene in the hospital when Gail's hurt and she goes, I don't want to get hurt again. I'm really scared. Was a really sweet moment. And it would be kind of tough to see her become a brutal killer after that, but you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
It will be tough to see her become a brutal killer. That's why I thought Kirby being the killer in Scream 6 would have been fascinating because she is a returning character. See if she was involved in the events of Scream 4 on any level. Mm-hmm. But that good movie, guys. Like I said it on my review on the Scene Snobs. It's a 4.5 out of 5. It is just so solid. Mm-hmm. I liked it. Like when I saw 5 for the first time, I wasn't a huge fan. I love that movie now. I've come to really, really, really enjoy it because again, they did different things in 5 that I wasn't necessarily ready for, and oh my god, 6 I think it's going to enhance my viewing of 5 going down the road too. Because I really dug it. I mean, the motive was pretty much the motive from Scream 2, but it didn't matter because I was still invested in the characters, and I liked the 4 of them very, very much. I didn't miss Nev Campbell for a moment, which I was shocked because he's been a part of my life for 20-some years now in these Scream franchises, and
and she'll be back. I think she'll be back.
She'll be back. And I agree with Jesse. Make 7, take some time off, get some new horror creators, maybe in 10 years. If you guys really want to milk the Scream franchise, give me a 3rd season to the 1st and 2nd season of the MTV show because I loved that cast and I would love to see it return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but, I agree with basically everything you said. It's I have to watch myself because I have a tendency to blindly love things when I first see them. And the way I saw 5 too, like every theater in my province was closed. So my friend and I drove 3.5 hours to a drive-in. There was no world where we weren't going to love the movie after we went through all that to see it. So I left 5 being like best movie ever. And I still love 5. Don't get me wrong. And then I saw this one. I was like, it's even better than 5. So, in a couple months, maybe I'll cool down a bit. But I'll tell you this. It, at the very least, is... At worst, it's in the middle of my rankings, this one. And at best, it's really close to the top. Like really
we'll get to your rankings in a second. Justin, final thoughts?
It was a good movie. I mean, I was more lukewarm on 5 than I think both of you. But, I mean, I'm not a big Scream guy. I watch them. I enjoy them. But it's not like I'm not in-depth with the fandom. But I thought 6 was way better. I thought it was a complete story to me. I really enjoyed it. I'd say 4 out of 5. It was good. Very good. I'll check it out for sure.
It is my life. I saw Scream 1 in theaters when it came out. I saw Scream 2 in theaters when it came out, and 3, 4, 5, 6. Now my daughter is really into the franchise, so we saw cool. 5 and 6 together, and we met Nev Campbell, and my daughter's like, my daughter's 15. She's like, can I say the F word when I meet Nev? And I'm like, yes, of course you can. Like, I'm not going to tell her no because I know what quote she wants to get her to sign. And so she goes up there and Nev's like, what would you like me to write? And Kylie's like, can you please write "Don't fuck with the original"? And I'm like, that's my daughter. Like, that's my favorite one too. And we met Skeet Ulrich, who was super nice. Amazing. Super funny guy too. Like, oh my God. My daughter's like, I really like Riverdale. And he's like, I used to.
That was funny. That was real. I was right there with him when he asked that question. That was real funny.
That's so funny. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool.
He's like, I like the first 2 seasons, even though I was on 4.
Yeah, that show went a little off the rails.
I'm like, that's honesty, though. Like, I appreciate the honesty. I didn't get to meet Matthew Lillard because all their lines were super long, but Matthew Lillard, literally, as he's coming to his table, he shakes everybody in his line's hand as he's walking to the table. And I thought that was just freaking so nice, so cool. But
super classy.
yeah, we're gonna talk Scream rankings. My Scream rankings were very controversial when I posted them to YouTube Shorts. People were outraged at me. A lot of dislikes. Mine go 1, 4, 6, 3, 2, 5, and I like them all. Like, people, calm down. I like them all. It's all various scales of the same degree, but that's my rankings. And I think it's just because I've seen 2 so many times. Like, I saw 2 a lot, and I think Scream 3 is so underrated. And I want more people to check it out, especially now. There's a lot of stuff that Wes Craven was saying in that movie to kind of tell us about like how Hollywood works in some degree, and
it ended up having a lot of foreshadowing.
Yeah, during the Me Too movement, like, he made a movie about Weinstein that was produced by Weinstein in a way, and I find that movie utterly rewatchable more and more as I watch it. I'm so mad when they killed Cottonberry, but Scream 4 still, to me, has the best opening sequence. I loved everything about that. We get the stab trailer, the stab trailer, the stab trailer, and then the actual movie. And I just Scream 6 might surpass that as far as my favorite opening sequence, but right now it's still 4.
Well, first of all, I love them all. I love every single one. My rankings are different, but I don't disagree with anything you said. I think, again, it's so tough. Like, when I say coming in last, I don't mean it in any kind of really bad way.
No,
I really don't. But yeah, I would probably go with the majority. I would probably put 3 last because I just thought they went a little too funny. But I agree.
Jay and Silent Bob kind of take you out of that movie a little bit.
Yes, and even like she's great in the scene, but like even the Carrie Fisher thing was like, oh, I'm not actually Carrie Fisher. The woman who slept with George Lucas got it. Like, it was funny and everything, but I was kind of like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? And like
they were writing,
Patrick. Yeah,
they were writing 3 on the fly. Like, they were writing it as a shot. So yeah.
So yeah, 3's in the rear, and then, man, that's just tough. From like 1 onwards to 3, they're all kind of jumbled, but I'll say 5, 4, 2, 6, 1. I think so. 1, 6. I don't even remember what I'm saying now. 1, 6. 2, 4, 5, 3. Yeah.
I can't.
Subject to change in the next 15 minutes. Yeah. But I love them all. Like, I love them all.
Mine shifts yearly. Scream 2 will be up there in the top 3. Scream 3 will be up there in the top 3.
I have not seen a lot of them in a long time, so I don't really want to give you a ranking. So go by Jason's or Jesse's. So like, I know 6 I liked a lot. I know number 1's probably my favorite, just because it was the OG. But like, everything else is kind of a cascading number or whatever you want to pick.
It's really hard.
Choose your best film.
It's really hard not to put number 1 as number 1 because we wouldn't have the rest of them without number 1. And I've watched 1 so many times in the last year that I watched them all. Like, they're dropping them now on 4K. So every time like the new one drops on 4K, I go back and watch them all to lead up to the new 4K release. Right now we're waiting on Scream 3 and 4 to come out on 4K. So hopefully we get
I'm sure it's coming. Yeah.
For sure.
But Radio Silence, guys, you guys did a fantastic job. I want to thank everybody that tuned in. Thank you. The likes on YouTube just continue to just be amazing, and we can't appreciate everybody that checks us out any more than we do now. That's all I got.
Thank you, guys. Scream 7 at all? Or any theories or anything like that? My only theory right now is, I think if we're going to have Sam be bad, and that's what they've been hinting at for a while, right? The past 2 movies. I think Tara has to die. She might be the opening scene or in the first. Like, she's the thing tethering, or be in a different country. Like, literally be like a world apart, and she comes back and brings the humanity back to Sam, right? Because I think that's kind of, in my opinion, that's the only thing tethering her between her going full on ghost phase and not, right? Her only person she actually cares about. If something were to happen or she were to leave, like, I know we said, like, in this movie, it's like, you have to let me go. well, is that the last tether of her not becoming a ghost face herself, right? Because like you saw her playing with the voice thing, and like she was in the full get up in the end of the movie, like, and she seemed to really enjoy it. And then her evil urges stabbed that dude right in the eye. You know what I mean? Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if Sam is the opening kill.
No, I mean that works too.
7, because they're letting us know that this might happen, and then them to take it off the table immediately in the movie. I think one would be shocking, kind of like a Cotton Weary in Scream 3, where I was surprised that he was the first kill of that movie.
Me too.
And well, maybe they kill Sam halfway through, like they make us think she's the killer, and then she dies.
I just think they've been alluding with her fighting it for 2 movies now, right? Either that needs to pay off like heavily, or to your point, needs to end quickly. One of the two. But this is gonna be the last movie of this trilogy, right? With this grouping.
The only reason I don't think that's going to happen, or at least not happen to the extent that we think it's going to happen, like I think they'll play with that a little bit in Scream 7,
For sure.
Make us think like, okay, yeah, she definitely could be possibly the killer, and then subvert expectations. Is because we'd expect it. I think that they will do something that we won't expect using that. Like,
so, well,
we gotta meet Sam and Tara's mom and Scream.
That's where I was going. I said there's 2 characters that are off the board that have been mentioned, which is their mom and the dad that left. I think there's something that's my big theory going into 7, is that 1 or 2 of those ghosts from the past have to kind of come out of hiding a little bit. Yeah.
They fans, I love Scream fans so much. They are breaking down Scream 1 looking for the mom. Like the sequence where Billy just got out of prison and or out of jail, and then him and Sydney are talking, and she's like, your mom didn't die. There's a girl that walks by, and Billy kind of just looks at her as she's walking by, and they're like, that's Tara and her mom. And then there's somebody at the party at the end that they're like, that could be it too. Maybe Tara's mom was involved in the killings.
Well, I thought it would be interesting.
All kinds of freedom.
Yeah. So I thought if we were going to have Sam be the ghost face, right? If they break that tether or whatever, and she goes full bad, it's like Scream 7 could just be following Ghostface around. Like, you know what I mean? We've gotten so used to like not being behind the cover, but now the full film is her maybe getting revenge on something, right? Whoever, like, and it might be interesting to watch too. I don't know if people would like that, but it was a thought.
It could be Richie's mom.
Exactly. The last one left.
Mom.
I'm gonna clean a whole family tree out real quick. Don't mind me. But yeah, that's my thought.
What about you, Jesse? You said you had some theories.
I mean, the really big one I had was about Tara's mom and Tara and Sam's mom and Tara's father that left when Sam unveiled that news. Is there a revenge plot in there? Is it, I also thought, and this is based on a theory I read a while ago, is, the families of the kind of the nameless victims, the ones that just kind of died, in service of Sydney and Sam's story. Can we get, we just did a family revenge thing, but that was my thought kind of going into this one. I said, it'd be cool if it was like, I guess in the last one, like Liv's family or Vince, the guy who died at the bar, like, that everyone kind of forgot about. Is there an anger there? Is there something kind of fun there?
Well, Vince is Stu's nephew.
Yes. Leslie Mocker. That's another person that they mentioned in 5. She could come back. Yeah.
She could. That would be fascinating. Like if they really play up the Stu angle in 7, and maybe Stu's DNA shows up, they got to exhume the body and so on and so forth. But we're playing into that mystery of how it all connects. That would make sense if Stu's sister wanted to go after all of them. One for killing her. Yeah, that'd be fascinating. That'd be a good little tie at the beginning. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun directions they could go. I'm anxious to see. They've sort of hinted that those same 2 writers, James and Guy, are working on it right now. I just hope Radio Silence signs on to direct it one more time. So we'll see.
Yeah, because that's up in the air right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
They're about to do Escape from New York. That's why it's all up in the air, because Paramount wants this movie out next year.
Right, which will be super fun. Yeah, they'll do a great job.
I wonder who they get to direct. Like, who do you get? Somebody said Kevin Williamson, but Kevin Williamson's never directed, nor is he currently writing the Scream franchise anymore.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, I think they're going to come back one more time to direct it. At the very least, they'll produce it. But if they don't direct it, I mean, didn't Kevin Williamson, didn't he direct? It wasn't too well received, but didn't he direct something called like Teaching Mrs. Tingle or something? I think he's directed something before. I thought he did. I think it's the one thing he ever directed, and then he never directed again.
Was that bad?
I'm looking it up.
I think he directed that movie. But yeah, he'd be good. I mean, I'm sure there's like some like up and coming horror filmmaker that could really do a great job. But yeah, I'd personally like to see those guys do it one more time.
Yeah, he did direct Teaching Mrs. Tingle back in 1999.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, that's the only thing he's ever directed.
It is. It is literally the one thing.
Yeah.
But Jesse, thank you so much for the time of hanging out with us 2 weeks in a row, man. I'm rooting for you. When I saw you in Working Moms, I was like, I'm so glad this guy's on the show. That's one of my favorite shows. What are the odds you're going to come back for that?
Well, okay. So what was the? Because
you're still alive.
The show's over now. I am still alive in Working Moms. I've made it. Which, you know, when you're in scenes with Anne or Danny Kind, you know, her anger problems, you never know what's going to happen.
Dude, Anne.
But
the actress who plays Anne is so beautiful and such a funny lady. I'm a huge fan of her. And even Reitman, I can't think of her first name. She is
Catherine.
Great. Catherine Reitman. She writes the show, and man,
yeah, it's a great group over there. And I only worked with Danny, who plays Anne, and I've said to this day, like, in terms of people that I really get to spend time with, because I would put like Jenna Ortega and Amelia Jones in this category as well, but she's up there with like just the best actor I've ever worked with in terms of her process. And again, I'm sure there's many others that I just didn't get to get such a close look at, but I got to see Danny do this crazy monologue that kind of encompasses her whole arc on the show. And she just nailed it every time. Yeah. I think season 7's the last season. If you haven't seen season 7 yet, you'll see me pop up. You'll see me pop up one more time. Yeah, it was super fun. I was glad I got to be on that show before they wrapped it up.
Yeah, I can't wait for the new season to drop, or the last season to drop. I'm very excited. I love that show so much. But Jesse, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I want you to remake a John Candy movie. I think that it would be perfect.
I want to make the biopic. Let's go.
Let's do it. Yeah, it'd be great.
I'm ready.
I gotta introduce you to Jen or Chris Candy, because they're such nice guys, people. John's daughter and son. Yeah,
I'm such a massive fan of. Yeah, John Candy is my idol. So, I auditioned to play Chris Farley last year, and that was really fun. But in my heart of hearts, I was like, this is not the one I'm right for. I think I'm right for John Candy. But I love that. I love that man so much. I love his entire career. My dad got to work with him years and years and years ago, and just said the nicest things. So, hey, if they ever want to do it and they have any interest in me, I'm 100% down.
Awesome.
Everybody follow Jesse at Jesse115115 on Twitter. Yeah. And what's your Instagram again?
Jesse JD Camacho. You'll get some fun. You'll just get me giving hot takes on Scream and Survivor if you follow me on Twitter. That's really
Lost too, right?
And Lost, yes, and Lost. Yeah. That documentary comes out next year. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, they need to get you on the documentary as a fan.
I'm ready.
Dude. Man, Jesse, if you got on a Lost set, man, I would have to stalk you on that stage. I'd be out there with binoculars. Man, when Lost was out, I listened. That's when I started listening to podcasts. I listened to all the Lost podcasts because I was so into it. Like, I can't even express how into it I was. I'm still that into it. And we just lost.
Damon and Carlton had a podcast.
Yeah.
The creators. That was so much fun to listen to.
Yeah.
And getting to meet and work with Carlton after was that was crazy. That was so surreal. That was so
Again,
surreal.
everybody, check out Jesse. You can see him on Lock and Key, Working Moms, and Scream 6. His line's funny. Check it out. You can see him at the party scene, like right around the time when they're on the stairs. So, from all of us at Three Geeks Podcast, guys, have a great day.
Thanks,
Thank you for having me.
Of course.